I feel like if people played German tanks more how they should be played, I think I would rate them higher. But because of how a lot of people play them, I just don't feel that they're the greatest. It's also annoying when you play in a Tiger and you're in a game and you do well, and then you notice that your entire team's dead because they charged headlong into a point, which they could have just spent, waiting for the enemy to push out after they capped it. Um, Really fun to play if you get good matches, I'll say. Otherwise, it can be frustrating. Medium line. Overall, I think the medium line is very fun for Germany. It's also your first, that's where you get reserve tank in. I love their medium tanks, even the ones that aren't so great, like the Panzer IV H. I like all of them, minus this thing. So the Panther F, don't ever play this tank. It causes you to get into tier 5 battles. From my experience, that might not be true, but my experience is that like whenever I put this thing on, I end up seeing way more higher tier tanks and tier 5 tanks than I should be seeing, because it's 6.7 in tier 5. It also just isn't that great for a 6.7 battle rating tank. The Panthers are excusable because they have good guns and they're only 6.0, but 6.7, you just face things that you shouldn't be facing in the Panther F. The other ones, though, are great. The Panther 2 is in a weird spot right now, but I think it's going to get better. Right now, I'd give the medium line a solid 8 out of 10. They're really fun. They're good tanks if you know how to learn them. They're weak if they're exposed. The Panthers have paper side armor, and as most German tanks, you die instantly if you get shot on your side. Overall, though, I really like them. They do have their issues, though. Next, let's move on to flak. So, early tier flak, good. Basically, every single tier, Germany has good flak. Overall, I think I would give German flak a 10 out of 10. Especially because when you get to tier 4, the Kugelblitz is insane. It can kill tanks. I actually have more kills in War Thunder with the Kugelblitz than any other tank, and that's just because I know how to abuse it, and I know how to use it very well. You have to get in close to use it well, but it's a very good tank if you know how to use it well. And I've saved games after I've died in my medium or my heavy, and I've only had this thing left to spawn in. Note, I don't abuse this like people do with ZSU-57s, and where they just run around as a primary tank. I always use this as my secondary if I only have enough points for it, and that's when I use it, but it's still a very good tank. Oswind, the same. Wirbelwind. Wirbelwind's insane for what it is at its tier. It pretty much gives air supremacy very easily. I love it. The Quellion's good. I kind of like the Kugelblitz a little bit more, but it's all personal preference because it has, basically, it's the Panther chassis with an anti-aircraft turret. It's rather good. I just love the German flak line. I love every single German flak. They're so much fun. Next, we have the Tank Destroyer line, and the German Tank Destroyer line is really good throughout. Once again, they have the paper side armor thing going on. The Stugs are great. They're really fun tanks. There isn't really any tank, any German Tank Destroyer that I'm just like, I'd rather have this tank over it, or, it isn't that great. They're all really good. I like all of them. Give a shout out to the Ferdy, too. Ferdinand is my favorite tank in the game. I love this thing. It's such a good tank. Right now, when they moved the Tiger 2s down from 7.0 to 6.7, it kind of made it weird because now it doesn't really have anything. It's basically the only 7.0 German tank right now besides the Panther 2, and the Panther 2s are really rare to see just because of how far down the tree they are and because people don't like playing them that much, so it's kind of got weird matchmaking now, but I really like it. And Jagdtiger is basically the Moss, which is a really good heavy tank without a turret. It's like a long-range bunker. Overall, though, Tank Destroyer line for Germany, very good. I would give it a 9 out of 10. The reason why I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10 is because their mobility kind of hurts in the high tiers, and the paper side armor is a common thing, but they some of them have unfavorable matchups in terms of, just where they can get penned. Panzer IV 7, Panzer IV and Stug 3Gs get penned from the front a lot. They're in order to get 10 out of 10, they have to be exceptional in everything, and They're good, but the right now the German flaks are pretty much the only thing I think in this entire review that I'm doing today is going to get a 10 out of 10, just because of how amazing they are. Also, I'm pretty sure that every single flak truck can kill, for Germany, can kill a tank at its battle rating, except for yeah, sometimes not the Quellian. The Whirlwind I know can, beside the Quellian, but they're all really fun tanks. All right, Russia. So Russia is interesting. For the most part, Russia is a combination of brawlers and heavy armor, and lots of angled armor. Angled armor meaning that they have a lot of their tanks are really good angling, meaning that even if they don't have that much armor, they have a really good chance of bouncing shells, or they're really good defense. Basically, how I would describe Russians as close-range brawlers with okay guns. They're not the greatest up until the later tiers where they get really good guns and they stay being really good brawlers. Overall, the Russians are really fun. They're just they have some issues in terms of balance. It's a lot minor than it used to, but like the T-54s are my worst nightmare. Not so much now that I have the Moss, but they're, when you get further into the game, you'll start realizing why people don't like them. That or the ZSU-57, which nobody likes. Luckily, nobody really sees that anymore because of how high its battle rating is. But overall, Russian tanks are very good. They're very good close-range brawlers. They have good angling. They're medium line, T-50 and everything. The T-34s are fantastically fun. Overall, like, they're really good early. Once you get to this point, they start facing Tigers, so it gets a little bit harder with them, and they can get penned a lot easier. They're still fun regardless. Like, it's not something that I'd be like, oh, you know, it seems like I destroy them all the time. Like, if you get good with the T-34s and their medium line, they're very fun to play. They also have great mobility. Every single Russian tank has great mobility, great speed, pretty much good all around everything. T-54s, and once you get the T-54s, they start getting insane amounts of armor. They're a lot of fun. Next, we have the heavy line. So the heavy line starts with a T-26, your reserve tank, then goes to the T-28, which is like a pseudo-heavy. It's like a low-tier heavy. Then you get your KV-1s, which are great tanks, great armor, really crap gun. This is a general trend, is that a lot of the Russian guns, they either are really bad at range, or later tier they have really long reloads. So they're good, don't get me wrong, but you really got to just, you know, play to their strengths, and know, you know, what part of your armor is strong or not. The IS-4 is a beast. Their entire heavy line is good throughout. The IS-1 is a little tricky to play, but everything else is just a blast to play. I don't really count the KV-85 as being a tank, just because you get it after the KV-2. KV-2 is really fun. If you want to laugh an entire afternoon away, just play the KV-2 and just enjoy killing everything with Stolnium rockets of God. This is technically their light tank tree. I don't really count it as a light tank tree because it kind of doesn't go anywhere, and tanks are okay. It's the T-60, 70, and 80. They're not really that great overall. They're Russian light tanks. They didn't really go anywhere historically, and they don't really go anywhere in game in terms of usefulness. They're fast. That's about all I can give them. Russian tank destroyers, really, so they go between having really good guns to okay guns, depending on what tier they're at. Generally speaking, their tank destroyers are nice, and they generally have good guns, especially later on, but they're very weak. They have a massive weak spot, the driver's hatch in the front. And they're pretty much, they can get one-shotted very easily. It basically takes a lot of skill to use them. Russian flak. Russian flak is interesting. They only have 3 flak trucks, and they have a premium one, but the premium one's okay, it's not that great. The Gaz, since there's only 3, I'll go through them. The Gaz is alright. It's basically a truck with a flak gun on it. It's not even a half track like the Skid Fizz, the German one. It's okay. The biggest issue I have with this is that playing Russians and not having the ZSU, it really sucks when you're in like a tier 3 or 4 game, or you're in a tier 3 game and matched up to tier 4s, and you only have that, because the ZSU actually can take on heavier tanks and do pretty well, and, you know, basically immobilize them for your team. The Gaz is just not that great in all respects. Even just accuracy is an issue with it. ZSU is a good tank. I have, all around, it's great. I have no problems with it. It's annoying as hell to face, but I like it. ZSU 57 is okay. I didn't really like to say that, excluding the Gaz because it's terrible, Russian Flak is actually more effective in general at killing other tanks, especially at their battle ratings, other than killing aircraft. Partially because the ZSU 57, it's large round, slow fire rate. Its rounds deal a ton of damage to tanks if you know where to hit them. It's also really fast. The Russian Flak is interesting. They also, if you get flak on flak battles where you're playing a German tank against, like, you know, a Russian flak truck, you're gonna win hands down every time. Basically, German and American flak are good at taking out air, and sometimes they're good at taking out vehicles. Russian flak is very good at taking out vehicles, and sometimes they're good at taking out air. I wouldn't say they're the best at being actual flak. Well, they are good at being flak trucks, but they're not like the greatest at it. Not nearly as good as their American or German counterparts. All right, so let's give a rating to each. So medium line, Russian medium line, I give a solid 8 out of 10. It's a lot of fun to play. There are some weak spots in here. These three in particular suffer pretty hard. The 244 is alright, I like it. Like, I really want to get it just because it's a lot of fun, and I know I have some friends that do really well with it. I have played it as well on one of my friends' accounts. Overall, it's a very good line. The mediums are very good tanks. Next, the heavy line. Heavy line for Russia. They have some serious contenders at the end, strong throughout. I give their heavy line a 9 out of 10. It's really fun to play. There's not that many issues with them. You just need to know how to, you know, play to the Russian strength. Be a brawler, you know, don't go charging to somebody when you're reloading. Play smart, things like that. Russian light-ish line. I don't know. I'm not even gonna rate this just because I don't really count these. I don't really care about tier 1 that much, and it is alright. What I will say with tier 1 though is this 30 is a very good tank destroyer. That's what I will say. I'm just gonna skip this. Russian tank destroyers, give a 7 out of 10. They're fun early. Mid game they're kind of okay. Late game, depending on how you use them, they can be really good. I give them a 7 out of 10 just because their survivability is meh, and overall they're not the greatest for what they face. Basically just stick to the Russian heavies if you want something they can do well. And they also don't have turrets, which kind of makes that worse. Russian flak, I give... Being actual flak, I'd give them a 6 or a 5 out of 10. What they can contribute to your team, I'd give them an 8 out of 10. Oops, no. I'd give them an 8 out of 10. Primarily just because they're really good at killing tanks, and they can shut down lanes, they can make people afraid of them. They're really good overall. I'd give them 8 out of 10 for team contributions, and, you know, killing other tanks. Like 5 or 6 out of 10 for being an actual flak truck. But anyways, folks, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. But that's my review of the tiers, or the trees. I'm going to be doing a video on the different ground attackers for each nation next, and yeah, if you have any input or feedback, love to hear it. Thanks, my name is Hippie Hunter, and have a great day.